So, where do we go next?
Anywhere we want.
At the very heart of Star Wars Outlaws is the fantasy that all sci-fi fans dream of, the ability to adventure across the stars. 5 different moons and planets await you, from Rise of Skywalker's chilly Kijimi to the classic deserts of Tatooine. But while fans will recognise many of Outlaws' locations, there is one that they definitely won't.
Toshara is a moon in the Outer Rim, much like the rest of the galaxy. It's run by a corrupt Imperial governor. While the Empire is in charge, this is also a hub of scum and villainy. You have all the sort of major syndicates trying to vie for a stake.
Toshara is a brand new moon crafted especially for Star Wars Outlaws by the development team at Massive Entertainment. Inspired by the East African savannah, it has been moulded to be as believable and immersive as possible.
We had to work out the demographics of the planet, we had to work out what are the major hubs, we had to work out fauna, flora, all of these sections that needed to come together and also be weaved by narratives.
To learn more, we spoke to members of the Massive team about how they built a whole new world to be added to the official Star Wars canon.
So Lucasfilm Games loves when we propose something new and we bring them something that can become part of Star Wars canon.
They're giving us a box of toys. We take the toys out, play with them, but then we also create our new toys and put them back for somebody else to play.
Massive came to us with the idea of a Savannah planet once we sort of knew the high-level intention behind the story and where we wanted to go. We let them ruminate on what does that mean, what would you like to see, what do you feel like you haven't seen before, what do you want to reference.
For Toshara, Massive wanted a world where the Star Wars mythology's pirate-inspired elements could live. This had to be a place of high-risk, high-reward treasure hunting, a land where getting into trouble with the wrong folks could lead to the equivalent of walking the plank into a sarlacc pit. And so was born the so-called Gem of the Underworld, a moon ruled by a corrupt division of the Empire and largely controlled by the galaxy's crime syndicates. But it wasn't enough to develop lore. The team had to start with the look and feel of the very ground itself.
We approached Toshara in terms of the general Star Wars design tenets where it has to be familiar, but with a twist.
It's like you go with the familiar, which, for example, in a place like Tatooine, it would be the desert, it would be Death Valley, and it would be Tunisia. For us, it was like looking at Tanzania as, oh, this is a location that if we would go out and shoot a movie, we would pick this as our shooting location. And then it's like, okay, what else do we need? Like, what is the unfamiliar element?
For us, Toshara was windswept plains of African savanna, but with huge mountains, outcrops that have been carved so that a city can take place within those rock walls, if you will. And amberine outcrops, which create a visual difference there too.
Amberine is the orange ore-like material that can be seen poking through Toshara's surface. Inspired by an old Austrian fortune-telling tradition in which molten lead is poured into cold water to create shapes that reveal what's to come, the amberine forms into a variety of striking shapes.
Wherever you're going, they're inside caves, they form plateaus, they even sort of shape into ramps for Kay to jump her speeder off of. They also react beautifully to the sun.
Unusually for Star Wars, amberine isn't a precious resource like Kessel Spice or Beskar Steel, and so it is left untouched and intact. That's not to say it's useless though. The moon's climate is incredibly windy, and those winds erode away at rocks, cliff faces, and even mountains. And so Toshara's main metropolis, the city of Miragana, would have to be built somewhere that could withstand such a climate.
It's carved into the mountain, into the amberine. So you have natural outcroppings of this very luminous amberine, which lets the light through that becomes a part of the ambient lighting of the location.
Basking in that light is the Pike Syndicate, the most dominant of Miragana's criminal organizations. But the city's busy streets are full of opportunities for both a galactic scoundrel scouting for gigs and a player looking to diversify their play experience.
Stealing illegal contraband, running with syndicates. I could say you're a threat to the Empire, but I won't have to if you're smart.
Every single location we had to choose had to be a den of scum and villainy, right? And in Miragana, you can do a lot of things. The first thing that you should do as a scoundrel, as an outlaw, is go to the cantina. And in the cantina, you'll find lots of shady characters that'll offer you jobs. Or you can just relax, eavesdrop, pick up some intel, play a couple of games of Sabacc, bet on the Fathia races, play some arcade games.
Beyond the cantina, you'll find a city split into several regions, each with their own flavour. The gambling district is constructed using different architecture and signage to the central market, while the Imperial checkpoint is built of the Empire's instantly recognisable flat panels and grid vents. No matter where you find an Imperial base on Toshara, it'll stick out like a sore thumb.
When they come in, they don't care about their environment, they just stamp down their base wherever they need. There are some amberine pillars around it, and we were imagining maybe that was an amberine arc at one point, and they just cut that arc off from the top and just put their base there. It creates a really interesting visual that's seen from far away that you can really use as a landmark.
Beyond the city's borders, the aforementioned winds have eroded away the moon's rock surface to reveal even more unusual amberine formations. A resourceful outlaw with a speeder bike could use such formations to hit even greater speeds during hot pursuits.
It's very orange glowing. It stands out very naturally in the environment. So we could make ramps where you can jump off. We made the wind tunnels where you can see it carved out by the winds. One of the references was like surfing underneath waves.
In the process of planning out Toshara's geography, Massive even went as far as establishing the moon's wind currents all run north to south. This dictated the map's population density, road networks, audio design, and, importantly, the formation of the speed-boosting wind tunnels. And so while the amberine ramps and tunnels may be a gameplay-first element, it's all created hand-in-hand with world-building lore in mind.
For every location, no matter how small, we want to think about what happened here, what is happening now here, and what is the location in general, what people do here. So we have a very clear idea of the history of the place and what the place is.
If you're still looking for Haas, I haven't seen him.
Actually, I'm here for you. I heard you're the best shot on the planet.
Oh, and you want to be second best.
A skilled outlaw can harness the moon's winds for their benefit, but not everyone is prepared to tackle such a climate. Remnants of those who tried to fight the winds and lost are scattered across Toshara's surface in a smart example of environmental storytelling.
It's a very volatile system. You have a lot of shipwrecks everywhere. People who tried to reach that system before but didn't know how to navigate these kind of currents to safely land.
But the storytelling doesn't end there. Those shipwrecks then become part of Toshara's history and economy.
There's very few natural kind of resources to build buildings apart from the rock. They use all the metal from the ships that have crashed and building all the buildings with those.
With so much of Toshara's environment being made up of harsh rock, crashed spaceships, and strange amberine structures, the finishing touch had to be something much more alive and endearing. While the crime syndicates may be the planet's apex predators, there are plenty of other creatures in the wilds to discover and befriend.
The first one that you probably will notice is what we call the Tosharan flyer, which is like a flying creature. They tend to just being attracted by everything that sparkles, and they steal everything. When you see them circling somewhere, maybe you can go there and find something of value because they probably stole it. But we have also the Koshiros. They are like the smaller creatures on the ground. They're fairly fun because if you pet them, they will just start following you. And maybe sometimes more of them will follow you.
Toshara has yet more secrets to be discovered, but we won't know this new moon's best treasures until we explore it ourselves when Star Wars Outlaws arrives on August the 30th. Until then, why not take a look at our exclusive Outlaws gameplay, as well as our in-depth look at how Massive has approached making the first ever open-world Star Wars game. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
But it's a big galaxy out there, and I'm gonna risk it all.